Yeah, at all. So a bit of an unscripted rant, just to talk about music really. The last couple of weeks I've been. So last week I went to Manningtree and purchased a Beatles album, and for £1, it's a 4-disc album. I think it was Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club. I think that's the name of the album. And it's been great listening to the Beatles again, and I've also started listening to a bit of Blondie as well. All these classics from the 90s and the 80s. Obviously right back to the 60s with the Beatles. But it just made me think, with the Beatles in particular, me and my mate were talking about it recently, that the old generation hated the Beatles when they first came out. So probably the generation that fought in World War II, or were fully grown men. And they disliked the Beatles. And obviously the same thing with today's generation. My generation that grew up listening to Oasis on the old cassettes, obviously dislike Little Mix and all these stupid little pop groups and what's his name, Harry Styles, and all these talentless people like Justin Bieber and that. They're not talented at all. They're just idiots. A lot of their vocals is kind of enhanced by studio technology. There's not that much talent there, in my opinion. Beyonce, she came out in the noughties, and she has got a fantastic voice, but you look at them, they're all degenerate, deviant types, and they're all coming out into the open now about what they're kind of into and what they're really about. They're influencers, they influence people, and that's... I was listening to a Christian YouTube channel a while ago. I'm not entirely a Christian. I believe there's a God, definitely, but the point they're getting to is the story of Lucifer being kicked out of heaven. And apparently Lucifer was a musician, and he got kicked out of heaven with him. He had a big entourage of fallen angels to follow him. That's why he had such a big following. And if you look at some of Billie Eilish's videos, it shows fallen angels and black goo and all this sort of satanic stuff. She's a bit on the borderline, a bit androgynous looking, isn't she, as well? And I've noticed that about Blondie. As beautiful as she was, there's something there definitely. I don't know, maybe it could even just be something like facial reconstruction or whatever. I'm talking about when she was young and beautiful as well. There's something there, maybe I'm imagining it, but definitely when you look at people like the Spice Girls, they've definitely got, like Mel C, the sporty one, Mel C, that's definitely on the radar for being a tranny. Getting back to the point though, so when the Beatles first came out, this is the main point I was going to get to. When they first came out in the 60s, they presented themselves as clean-shaven, suit and tie, mod-looking sort of gentlemen with guitars, very innocent-looking. And when they obviously built up their following, they transformed into sort of hippie, dope-smoking, bearded sort of multicoloured sort of people, They became very flamboyant, and obviously the 70s onwards was the more transformations began. So you had homosexuals coming into the big time on the stage, and it was all about breaking down barriers. David Bowie with his androgynous look for what was that song? Is it Starman or Martians or something? And then you also had Elton John, Freddie Mercury, George Michael. A lot of homosexuals started coming out into the open, into the mainstream. Now, I've not got anything against anyone who's gay, but it's all about influencing. And if you want to, especially as I'm talking now, we're into Gay Pride Month, so it kind of shows you, as time's gone on, where this has descended and degenerated into. And it just went on. And you think the 90s, when I listened to Oasis to me, I don't think there's anything at all dodgy about them. I think they're genuinely like a good working class bunch of lads who worked their way up from Manchester to what they are. They're on their own, they're well against all that sort of corporate greed, and they're probably well aware of the dodgy side of the music industry and sort of rejected it and just relied on their musical abilities. But if you go to the 90s still, because I sort of fell victim to it in 2011, I was very much trying to be a Liam Gallagher, getting pissed and taking things I shouldn't do and trying to be a bit Larry, and it didn't suit me at all. Probably just looked like a total prat, like some kid trying to be something he's not. And that's exactly what I was. And that's the thing, they're influencers. There's actual, in my own personal experience, I've actually been that person who's been to try and emulate a different personality to my own because they're a musician and they're big. And I've never even bloody met the Gallaghers, face to face. It's all been via the internet and TV. Same can be said for other celebrities, your sports personalities, and moving forward to 2011, 2012. That's when music was really sort of turning into a sort of strange Brave New World degenerate sort of stuff with Nicki Minaj, and again you've got young girls now walking around like prostitutes because that's what they emulate, these people, they're influencers. And Katy Perry, and I think Miley Cyrus, she's a great example. So when she first came out, she was like a sweet and innocent country girl, and then she transformed into that bloody strange. Well, I think these people are. I think there's definitely some brainwashing going on. I think the Hollywood system is just so horrible and corrupt, and just generally very dark. But I think there's a lot we don't know. It could even be as extreme as cloning, like the Blade Runner movies. Like I've said before, that I believe that you're showing the truth in movies, and Blade Runner is a good example of the cloning system. A lot of these celebrities as well all happen to look extremely similar. I can't, like David Bowie, Ricky Gervais, they look quite similar when they were young. Daniel Radcliffe and I can't remember his name. I'll have to look it up, but there's another one that he looks identical to. There's been plenty of videos showing all this. And yeah, so I think also as well with the music industry, if it's satanic, they probably enjoy having men lusting after men, but not being aware because it's all upside down. So you've got, so Pink is a good example. That's a man, without, in my opinion, without a doubt. The photos I've seen of her on a beach, that's a bloke's body. And the same can be said for Mel C. And it's when we become older, it becomes more obvious. Shoulders much wider than hips, deep set eye sockets, masculine jaws. Sandra Bullock, obviously Bullock means a castrated bull. That square jaw, deep set eyes. And I remember as a young'un lusting over Sandra Bullock. Obviously I'm talking about acting now, but actors. So yeah, it's just compared to what you're told, and it's all starting to come out now, the whole Epstein Island thing as well, that these people are in a very sinister club, like Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut. Stanley Kubrick was obviously well aware of the insides of the entertainment industry and was trying to expose it. I think there's about 40 minutes worth of footage from that film that was cut after his suspicious death. And yeah, so getting back to the point, it just shows that how music was used to really degenerate the masses. Like he says in Rock the Casbah, degenerate the faithful with that Casbah sound. And what else was there? You think as well in the 90s when electro and the dance scene came along and the drugs came along with it, and the Glastonbury Festival, it morphed into something else from the hippie free love thing of the 60s. We were on a nosedive by then, and if you wonder why this country's ended up like it is, along with the Western world, the music industry's got a lot to answer for, but we've allowed ourselves to be led astray by these people. Yeah, just thoughts, just ramblings. You might think I'm talking total bullshit, and that's fine. Feel free to. I'm not one of these that blocks the comment section and gets all offended. If you think I'm talking nonsense, call me out on it. Make your own video. Debunk everything I've said. But I would say if you want to see how we've transformed from the 60s generation to where we are now, Gay Pride Month and people walk around blue and pink hair and these young girls walking around as prostitutes, like more or less half naked, then look no further than the music industry and the entertainment industry. Yeah, that's it. Thanks. So.